So hello again, this is Jeremy Arney, interim leader of the Canadian Action Party. And what I want to talk about in this particular video is relatively local, but it has federal implications to it. And that is, Kinder Morgan are trying to twin their pipeline from way up north part of Alberta down through to Burnaby. And they want to do this so that they can double the amount of bitumen that they ship out, not quite here, but a little further over in the Strait of Wandafuka Strait, via Georgia Strait in the inner harbor of Vancouver, with giant oil tankers. And there is a review panel going on, still going on right now, concerning this whole business. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Should it go ahead? Who is it going to affect? Etc., etc., etc. All the things that they should be looking at, that they looked at with the Northern Gateway pipeline and rejected out of hand. Some 220 conditions came up, which were basically proposed by the federal government and Northern Gateway anyway, so they're no big deal. So a little while ago, just back before Christmas, Kinder Morgan decided that they were going to start doing some work up on top of Burnaby Mountain. On the face of it, you'd say, well, so what? Well, so what? They hadn't got approval that they could put that pipeline in yet. So what were they doing going ahead with unapproved work? Interestingly, the courts decided, when protesters went up there to stop this work, a court in British Columbia decided that Kinder Morgan was right in their proceeding with unapproved work in a public place in BC, and the protesters who objected to this were wrong. So an injunction was issued against the protesters. The police went up there and they served those injunctions. They harassed the protesters, they moved them around, they arrested them, they took them back to jail, and then they released them. So what was going on here? I mean, it's a comedy of errors that one would never expect in a democratic country. First of all, what was any court doing giving the right to a corporation to conduct illegal activities by granting an injunction against those who wanted to stop them? Doesn't make sense, people. It really doesn't make sense. And around this time, there was a bill C-89, I think it is, C-689, has been proposed by Mai Young, a CP or Conservative Member of Parliament for Vancouver, basically outlawing infrastructure damage. If you look at it, now I'm not going to go on with that particular thing because I can't give you the entire details, but what it does basically is it makes an absolute mockery of the whole word infrastructure, and it changes the criminal code into something which is unbelievable. Read it. If you can find it, read it. It's definitely worth reading because it makes no sense at all. Where this affects Canada is, what is the point in having a federal review panel to examine something when the answer has already been given to them as to what they're going to come up with? Now, we don't know this for sure with this review panel on the Kinder Morgan, but if I had a house, I'd probably be willing to invest a mortgage and bet that it's going to get approval. I don't have a house and I don't have a mortgage, so I can't really make that bet, but nonetheless, I think it would be a very safe bet. The second thing about this is, and again getting back to this, is they want to drill a hole through a mountain. What they seem to forget is that this whole area is sitting right adjacent to the San Andreas Fault. These mountains are moving. So they're going to drill a hole through a mountain which is moving and then stick a pipeline in it? I mean, they had enough trouble with the Mica Dam trying to fix that to the mountains, because every morning they'd come up and find that the great big huge spikes they'd put in the mountain were broken. So what's going to happen here? We have tremors here, immeasurable tremors in the Strait of Georgia, 6 to 7 a day. We have something here called the Dominion Astrophysical Observatory here, and they measure these things. They know they're happening every day. They're waiting for the bigger one, and every now and then we get one that's a little bit bigger than just a tremor. We had one in Port Alberni just, 2 weeks ago? Just felt over on the mainland. Now, that could happen, and it could move the mountain and the pipe breaks. Then what? Are Kinder Morgan better or quicker than shutting off their pipeline breaks than Northern Gateway proponents, Enbridge? I doubt it. They probably wouldn't even know it had happened. No, I mean, this whole thing just doesn't make any sense at all. And what's it in aid of? It's in aid of getting a product whose value is decreasing every day to a market that doesn't really need it right now. Well, the US don't need it. There's a glut of oil there. There's a glut of oil all over the world, frankly, so China don't need to buy from us anymore. They can buy it cheaply from the Middle East, and what they get there is sweet crude that takes a whole heck of a lot less refining. Why would they want our dirty stuff? It's a simple question of something's gone wrong with the priorities here. Very wrong with the priorities. Our manufacturing is disappearing. Ontario has been a base of manufacturing, as has Quebec for that matter, for a century. And it's disappearing, folks. Look at the companies that have gone from there. Look at CAT, look at Stelco, look at Alcoa, look at Kellogg's, look at Navistar, the truck manufacturers from Quebec, look at Packard and Kenworth and Peterbilt dealers. And this is just scratching the surface. All these companies have gone. They've gone south. US or to Mexico. So we don't have the manufacturing. Think of the jobs that are not only lost from the plant itself, but the suppliers of those plants. Kellogg's pulled out. So all the trucking people who bought from the farmers to Kellogg's, they're out of work. All the farmers now, where do they sell their produce? They don't have the wheat board to go to anymore because that's gone. So where do they sell their product to now? Or did they just turn it under and hope for the best? I don't know. Just a whisper as it comes in, and there it goes. This is more business people traveling to and from the mainland than it is tourists. The tourists come in over the other side through the boats. There's the Black Ball ferry comes from Port Angeles, there's the Clipper that comes from downtown Seattle, and they're in and out all day. I think there's at least one sailing each day for both of them. And it's fun. Downtown just loves it. In the summer we have 3 a day from the Clipper from Port Angeles, and they come all the way from California coming up here for that. And what are they coming to see? Largely the Bouchard's Gardens. Now there, Bouchard's Gardens and the beauty of the Bouchard's Gardens is the kind of trade that we should be looking at. Not this dirty junk that's polluting the whole world. Let's get back to things that really matter, people. Let's get back to a way of life that's sustainable, a way of life where we're not damaging ourselves and all the fish and the animals that share this world with us, and the plants. Someone told me a little while ago, and I'm more and more becoming to believe it, that the most invasive species in the world are the human beings. I would love to see us turn that around and become part of the earth rather than being an invasive species. I would love that for my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. I hope in the little part I can do something towards that. I know my daughter is, and I support her completely. Let's get rid of this concept of profit above all else. Let's get back to what really matters. Let's get back to love and to peace and to valuing people for who and what they are and what they can do for each other and what they can give for each other and what we can give to each other too. I'm getting off party politics here, getting personal now, but that's okay. And on that note, I will say goodbye for now. Thank you for watching.